Good evening and welcome. Thank you all for coming tonight. I want to thank some special guests that are here. I also want to start out by thanking Principal Cindy White, who's here. Where's Cindy? Cindy, thank you for hosting us at your school and all your great staff. I also want to recognize some of our special guests who are here. We've got some county commissioners here. Commission Chair Dave Wright. Dave, where are you? Commissioner Wright, he's in the back. Chairman Wright, thank you. He's always, every time we talk about school stuff, Dave is always there. Dave, thank you for being here tonight. Our KCEA president is here, Lauren Hobson. Lauren, thank you for being here. Lauren's always here too. We've got several school board members here tonight. Our board chair is Patty Bounds. She's here tonight. And I'm glad to have her here tonight. And Jennifer Owen, I think. Board member Jennifer Owen's here. Jennifer, thank you. She's been to a lot of these meetings, maybe every one of them. And Gloria Deathridge, our first district. Gloria, thank you so much for being here. Any public officials that slipped in? Commissioner Gill may be here. I haven't been all the way and looked around, but she's been to most of our meetings too, and she may slip in the back in a little while. So I want to first of all thank you for coming out tonight and the crowd of people that are here to talk about zoning and rezoning in particular, and also invite you to be at another very, very important meeting that we have talked about for the last few months. The status report on the disparities task force work, the recommendations that came out of our disparities task force on the disparities that exist in our school district based on race and economic status and disability. The status report will be presented to the public and to our Board of Education on February 15, if you can come. I see Jared Kroom here, who's a parent here. Jared co-chairs our steering committee. Andre Canty is also a co-chair of that committee if Andre's here. So the status report, the numbers on how have we done on suspensions and all the other things that we have been concerned about in Knox County will be presented to the public and to the Board of Education on February 15 at 5 o'clock at the Andrew Johnson building, okay? And if you can't be there, it will be streamed live. Now let me put my glasses on and tell you how. It will be streamed live at community can reach its full potential. And we can't do that if we don't manage growth effectively. So we're building 2 new middle schools right now. You know that. We're building a new middle school out at Gibbs, and we're building a new middle school out at Hardin Valley. And as a result of those 2 new construction projects, we will have to rezone our middle school zones, several of them. And they could impact you here in this district. And they could impact other districts, other zones as well. And so we wanted to hear from you tonight about any concerns that you might have as we go forward. We don't have a proposal yet. We don't have a plan. We wanted to hear you first before we draft a plan. Now let me say this. There have been a lot of rumors about what's going to happen. I've heard rumors that we're going to shut schools down. There are absolutely no plans to close any of our schools. Absolutely none. There have been other rumors, but I want you to know that we have not designed the plan because we hadn't heard from all the communities that are impacted by this to be able to formulate a plan, and that's why we're here tonight to hear what you have to say. Some of you we've heard before, but a lot of you we haven't heard. Now, let me just say this about the format tonight. We're going to do a very brief presentation about the process that we go through to do rezoning, and Russ Oakes, who works for us, will do that. And I've asked Russ to do this in 10 minutes because the main thing that we want to do tonight is hear from you, your thoughts about this rezoning process. Couple of ground rules I'm going to ask you to follow. One, we got a lot of people here, many of whom haven't had a chance to speak, so please try to limit your comments to 2 minutes, okay? Do the best you can to say it pretty tight. And if you need to say more, let me give you an email address, okay? If you want to send us written stuff, we'll read it. We're capturing it all. Here's the email address. It's easy to remember. Rezoning at knoxschools.org. Rezoning at knoxschools.org. You know, we teach more than math and science and reading in the Knox County schools. We also teach citizenship. And it's a very important part of our mission right now when the United States of America sometimes feels more like the disunited States of America. And we want to model for our students here in Knox County what America really looks like. We want our schools to be welcoming, we want our schools to be inclusive, and we want to make sure that every student and every adult is treated with fairness and respect. So I want us to do that with each other tonight. And I know there will be some emotions, and that's fine. And I know we have strong opinions, and rezoning is always scary to people. So we're here to listen to you, but let's contend with each other the way we want our kids to learn to contend with each other and show them what good citizenship looks like. Russ, talk to us about your process, and then we'll get everybody right in it.
Okay. What I want to do is take about 10 minutes, give you a little bit of context for our conversation going forward. As Superintendent said, we're building 2 new middle schools, one in the Gibbs community in the north part of the county, and one in Hardin Valley in the west part of the county that are going to open in August of 2018. That's about a year and a half from now. And our intent is to have a zoning plan in place a year prior to that opening. The school in Gibbs is, I think Superintendent covered most of this, but the school in Gibbs is being built in order to get a school closer to the heart of that Gibbs community so that we can reduce the commute time for students from that community. And the school in Hardin Valley is being built primarily because of the growth that we're experiencing in that area and to absorb the future growth that we're projecting for that area. Give you a quick look. This is an elevation of the Gibbs Elementary School. It'll be built for 600 students, about 141,000 square feet, 51 classrooms. It will have an auditorium of 600 seats and a gymnasium of about 800 seats. The way we develop zones and go through the zoning process starts with the Metropolitan Planning Commission. Annually, they provide us their projections for population growth in the county. We take those projections and we look at what we actually know. We look at the numbers of students that are enrolled at our various schools, and then our transportation and zoning department takes those numbers and they develop what we call enrollment projections, which are a little bit different than the growth projections. And that's how we determine or do our best to determine where we're going to see population changes around the county. When we develop school zones, there are a lot of things that we consider. Some of those are these 5 right here, and they're in no particular order, and it's not by all means all of them, but of course it's given that we have to consider school capacity when we're putting the zone together, because we don't want to build a school and have it over capacity when we open it. We want to have room to grow into it. We have to look at transportation to make sure that our routes to the school. We'll support what we need within that school zone, and that they accommodate the geographic and man-made boundaries, or that we compensate for the geographic and man-made boundaries as we design those zones. You know, geographic boundaries like the ridge and valley lines we have running across the county, the rivers are geographic. The man-made boundaries are interstates and railroad lines and those kinds of things that are linear in nature for us. Parent responsibility zones are something else that we consider. In Knox County, we have parent responsibility zones where we don't provide transportation. We expect parents to manage that for their children. And for elementary schools, that's within a mile of the school. For middle and high schools, that's within a mile and a half of the school. And we try to refrain from zoning one school into another school's parent responsibility zone. Doesn't happen all the time. We've got areas around the county where that exists for one reason or another, but we try to refrain from that. We also want to try to make sure, to the greatest extent possible, is that we have congruent zones from elementary school to middle school to high school. We want to try to keep students with their peer group to the greatest extent possible, and not create areas in the county where we have small groups of students from one school moving by themselves into another or larger school. We want to have a significant peer group with them. This is the timeline that we're looking at. We started this process in November, going through and listening to the community about what your concerns are and what you want us to consider in zoning. We're finishing that process tonight with the comments that you all provide to us, and we'll go to the next step on this thing, where we're formulating a zoning plan and putting that together so that we can bring something back to the community in the March-April timeframe and say, this is our plan, this is what we're thinking about. You all tell us how we got it right or how we got it wrong. And then in the May time frame is when we want to take that plan that you all have commented back to us on. We'll tweak that. We'll bring it back to the board in the May time frame for the board to look at and consider and act upon. As you all know, most of the students in the Gibbs community are zoned to Holston Middle School from here, and the intent of this action is to reduce the travel time to, as I said earlier, to move a middle school into the Gibbs community to reduce the commute. But as we develop the zoning plans for those schools, for that school and how it affects the other schools, we need to be cognizant of the fact that we don't create any racial or demographic disparities within our other schools as we go through that process. And then as you look at it, what I can tell you as far as a zone is concerned is if you live within a mile and a half of Gibbs Middle School or where the Gibbs Middle School is being built, you're probably going to be zoned to the Gibbs Middle School. More than that, I can't tell you for sure right now because we haven't developed a plan, we haven't worked through that, but I would expect that the zones would shift south and west as we develop those. Just for context, this is the area that we're talking about. If you can look up at the very top, that's Gibbs Middle School location. And then you can see Halls and Carter, Holston, Will Springs, Gresham, Vine, and South Doyle. And those are the schools that we're looking at or considering adjusting zones for as part of this eastern rezoning that is being, that Gibbs Middle School is the catalyst for. It would help if I would go forward instead of backward. This, just to give you a little more context, this is the chart that sort of shows you the capacity of what those schools are, the general capacity, what their current enrollments are, and then the difference in their enrollment and the capacity, and to show you the challenge that we have as we go through to balance the attendance zones for those schools based on the wealth of capacity we have in the area. Already talked about that. Okay. just let me, I think there was some question about this slide. So let me go through it one more time. We'll finish the presentation, and then we'll talk about it in detail if you want to do that. So what we're showing is these are the general capacities for those schools. These are the current enrollment numbers for those schools. And this is the difference in what the current enrollment is and the capacity is, generally speaking. So we've got plenty of capacity in this area, and that's something that we look at as we're working through the zones, or the zone plan. I talked about this just a minute ago about if you live close to the Gibbs Middle School, you're probably going to be zoned there. The new middle school's open in the August of 18. Some of the things we want to hear you tell us about tonight are what you would expect in the structure of these schools. Should we open the new school with all 3 grades, or should we open it 1 grade at a time and grow into it so that our zoning process really develops over 2 or 3 years? How should we assign students as we do the rezone, both for the Gibbs Middle School and the other middle schools that may be involved in that process? Should we grandfather students? Should parents and students have the option to, if they're in a particular school, finish their studies at that school before, and not necessarily move to the next school, or have the option to remain there if you're in a terminal grade or the penultimate grade for that particular school? And then the other thing to talk about is how do you build the community of the school? Because as we look at the zoning process, there'll, in all likelihood, going to be significant changes in the school. Number one, the Gibbs Middle School, we haven't built a community there. The school doesn't exist. So how do you build the community of the school? And to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, when we opened the Hardin Valley Academy 8 or 9 years ago, that school, I think, actually had a PTA before the school opened, before it was finished being built, to help build the community of that school. So here's some thoughts from you about how you might want to approach that process with both the new Gibbs Middle School and the other schools that may be affected by this rezoning. That's really it. That's the process and what we're doing, and what we really want to hear from you is your comments, your concerns, your insights. If anybody's got a better idea about how to do it, I certainly want to hear it, because we want to consider as much information as we can gather when we start the process of trying to put zone lines together and make them reasonable and coherent. With that,
before the slide that you all wanted to see up close, we can flip back to that with the enrollment numbers on it. That's also on our website. And let me say this about the Gibbs Middle School construction. That was not driven by numbers and by growth, that like the Hardin Valley School was. The Hardin Valley School was driven by numbers and growth. The Gibbs construction was not driven by numbers and growth. It was driven by the fact that you had kids getting on a bus and having to ride 45 minutes or an hour to school. And right, and I know we're right. And I know we're going to hear that's exactly what you're concerned about too. That's what we've been hearing too. But I want to be honest with you and tell you why that school was built. That's why it was built. It wasn't on my watch, but that's why we did it. Okay.
we're going to bring some mics around, so if you'll hold up your hand, we'll get you a mic, and if you'll give us your name and tell us what your comments or concerns are.
Go back to the enrollment chart. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, Russ, my question is, my name is David Gillette, and I'm looking at these numbers here, okay? It said, okay, we're right now here at Vine Middle School, okay? And I know that we understand that we're talking, we're not talking numbers, but it said the capacity for this school is 600, but the current enrollment is 349. So I guess my question is, why does it make sense to take and rezone and move children out of this district and put them somewhere else if the numbers are already hurting in this area? So that's one question I had to ask. Number two, we're talking about building communities, okay? I'm hearing, Hardin Valley. I'm hearing Gibbs. What about building communities over in East Knoxville? What about building districts, building communities in District 6? It's to the point now. Our community, nothing against you, Buzz, nothing against you, Russ. I understand we all have jobs to do, but at the same time, this district has hurt for so long. We must stand up and we must stick together. There's no sense. We have a lot of low-income families in this area. There's no sense in these children having to get up at 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning and be put on a bus where they can build and be here in their own district. Why can we not build a school in this district? Why can't we, rezone Gibbs? Why cannot we rezone Hardin Valley? Now, one thing I did hear you say, the numbers. It doesn't make sense to move a small number. Okay, this is a large population, so it makes sense to move the larger population to make their numbers look right. Why not move their population to make our numbers look right? Enough is enough, guys.
Good. Let me take one second and address one of the points you made there about moving students from Vine Middle School to somewhere else. That's not something that we've discussed at this point, and that's not something that we would see on the horizon. Yes, sir, I understand. And that's what I'm saying is we don't have an intent to move students from Vine Middle School at this point. Who's next? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. It's my turn. I want to say that Knox County preaches community schools. Community schools, community schools. How can you have a community school when you have a community that you're busing kids out of the community to go to other communities in the other school? My elementary school students are zoned for 3 different schools. I live less than 2 minutes away from Surmore Green. However, my autistic son has to go to Surmore Green because of where I live. My kindergarten first and second has to go to Sunnyview. Then my third and fourth, once they go to Sunnyview, they have to come back to Chihuahua. Okay, that don't make sense. So what I'm saying is community schools to me should be, I live in this community because I want to, not because I have to. I send my kids to these schools because I want to. I don't understand how you come up with your zones because you have a lot of kids in East Knoxville who don't even go to schools in East Knoxville. They're zoned to go to schools in other communities. To me, that's not community schooling. That's making numbers look good. I know for a fact that you take kids out of their zones and where they don't make a big fuss, that is. In those communities where they make a big fuss like Gibbs and Fergie, because they have the parents that show up to the meetings and they complain and they got the money and they got the knowledge that we don't have, some of us don't have. You take our kids and then our schools fail because most of our successful students have been bussed out. They're out of here. I say you have the right to go to school wherever you can, and if I lived in West Knoxville where the Islamic school is, I'd be there with my kids, but I don't live there. And it used to be downtown, but they moved it so far away because they built their own school. But if you want to go to school at Fergie, move to Fergie. If you want to go to school at Gibbs, move to Gibbs. But we live right here because we want to. And I think we like to keep our kids close when they get sick. You can't go. It's not easy to go all the way to Gibbs somewhere to get your child. When they want after-school activities, it's not easy to get there if you're bused out of your neighborhood to go. So y'all need to come up with something better because all that busing and all that is not working.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
I want to say it. My name is Marshall Walker. I'm a retired school social worker and high school coach. I want to be nice, but I grew up in segregation, and I graduated in integration. And I know the majority of the administrators and school board know you may be playing games. with people because, one, the rezoning, and it's nice for everyone to be here tonight. The rezoning started in 1999 in Knoxville, and it was for other reasons other than education. Now, you got District 1 locked in like this. You would never get a new school in this district. I own property. My tax dollars are going to the county schools. When you think about it, only Sarah Green is the only school that's been renovated in Knoxville. Now, I don't know what you all are going to do regarding this, but this rezoning and these schools you're doing, you're going to create segregation all over again, and I think that's wrong.
Yes, sir.
My name is Chris Battle. I'm pastor of Tabernacle Baptist Church. And I wrote some stuff down here because I'm a Baptist preacher and I might take all night. But I wanted to say this. We should not, as Brother Buzz says, I don't think we should be overly concerned with growth as much as we are concerned with sustaining community. Students who live in walking distance from our schools should be able to walk to school. My children are in the parental responsibility zone for Vine, but they bus them to South Doyle. So you don't have to, your intent may not be to move because you've already moved them. You've already moved them. And if you need help, I'll get on the zoning committee and I'll help you out on that one there. Now, if you have to bus students out of our community to fill the new school, maybe you should build a smaller school. Maybe you should build a smaller school, and as that community grows, then you add on. But don't destroy our community to make capacity for another community. I was at the South Doyle Vine basketball game the other night, and neighbors were playing against neighbors. It makes no sense.
Yes, sir.
Is it just on? Yeah. My name is Clyde Anderson, and I want you to pull up your own slides and look at what they say. Go back to the slide where it tells you about what you use to determine how these zones are made. One more, go back one more. Go back one more. Okay, you see where it says zoning considerations? It's saying school capacity. Okay, you're already showing that Vine is under capacity. Okay, transportation. There are kids that can walk to Vine. Then you say parents' responsibility zones. I think the minister just addressed that. Then you says geographic versus man-made boundaries. Now go back to the zoning chart. Don't that river look like a boundary to you?
He said, does that look like a river?
Yes or no? Is that a boundary?
Yes.
So now, if my kid lives over here on Dandridge, they got to get on a bus and go across that river and go all the way into where South Doyle is. Look how big South Doyle zone is. It's not our fault they can't fill that school up, you know? But if you would take that purple for Vine and just stretch it out to where the boundaries, the man-made boundaries that y'all are supposed to respect, if y'all stretched it out to those, our school would be the capacity.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe in community schools. I'm a grandmother with children that live 5 blocks from here that are zoned for South Doyle Middle and then zoned back to go to Austin East. You need to bring our children back that you've already bused out. We want quality, excellent education at our school, in our community, and we want our children to go to school in our community and have the same pride we had when we went to school. Thank you.
a child at Vine and at Austin East. And I feel like first it's going to start with Vine, and then you're going to have to go and rezone for high school. I think this is just the beginning. But I have a question. How are the 2 middle schools that are being built, how are they going to benefit the students of Vine? Is there a benefit for students of Vine for these 2 middle schools that are being built? Is there a benefit for Vine students? Then leave our kids alone. Leave us out of it. If we don't benefit from it, then just leave us out of it. Just leave us out. Thank you.
Got it.
So, my general question is, as this gentleman talked about, kind of the tenets for your rezoning process, which sounds like started in December, which scares me a little if there's something starting and we've not finished.
We started these meetings then.
No, if you go back to the slide, you said that you're actually. No, could you go back to that one with your timeline? The other way. No, there you go. So if you look at this, it says that you're going to start formulating a tentative plan starting in December. So hopefully you. Okay, you're good.
This is part of that
all right,
process.
So my question is, what are going to be the tenets? Because Gibbs did kind of break the paradigm. You guys went from a capacity-driven school zoning to now, those parents did a great job, of building their own school. So now, as you said, wasn't a capacity issue. We spent money to say that wasn't. Now we're going to they needed one in their community. So we gave them one. So what now going to be the tenets for zoning? It sounded like we've already made that decision, just like you said, Superintendent. It wasn't on your watch, but we've made that decision. So is that going to be a tenet from now on? Or is it just a one-off kind of a thing?
You're talking about?
We're talking about you all built Gibbs because the community wanted it. That's what I heard. So if that is a statement of fact, if that's a statement of fact, is that a one-off that you're never going to do that again? Or now does that become a tenet of zoning within our middle schools?
That is not a tenet that we have. I can't answer your bigger question because that's within the purview of the Board of Education, not mine. But as we look at this, we'll consider those things. But what we also want to consider is the information that you all are providing to us tonight. And we're hearing the concern about community schools, and we're hearing the concern about not wanting to move students out. And we're hearing the concern about don't move students out of schools that are underpopulated and those. So we understand that. We get that.
So, Commissioner, thank you for being here tonight. Once a commissioner, always a commissioner. So, Sam, I'm always going to call you Commissioner. I liked having you on the commission. It's hard to answer Commissioner McKenzie's question because it's about the future, and we can't bind a future Board of Education tonight. So we're not dodging it. We're just being careful about what we can commit to and what we can't. Let me tell you what I have heard, just to see if I'm hearing properly. One, we should move as few people as possible. Yeah, I got you. I'm getting to that. I got you. You'd like your community put back. You would like to keep families together. You would like to keep neighborhoods together. And we haven't talked about this tonight, but this at all these meetings where we have listened to the community, I'm hearing you say that some of you may want to grandfather kids in that are going to a particular school. That may not be an issue here, but in some of the conversations, They've said, look, if my child's somewhere now, I want them to be able to stay there. We're hearing that, so we're thinking about that. And we also, although again, it's not going to be a big issue, I don't think, here, have a wide open transfer policy now in Knox County. We're one of the few districts that actually lets parents choose where they want to send their children. And you know, if there's capacity at a school and you want to send your child there, now you got to provide transportation. We can't run, you know, individual buses for everybody. But there is the opportunity to transfer. But the big things I'm hearing from you are keep our families together, put our community back together, and keep neighborhoods together. And stop busing our kids a long distance.
Yeah, just one quick follow-up, and that's on the Gibbs. You built it for 600. Sounds like Vine's at about 50%, and a couple of other ones are lower. Are you all considering not populating Gibbs to nearly what the capacity is? Okay. So that one, I think we're done.
Yes, I know.
All right. My name is Otis Littlejohn.
There you are. Okay.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you guys taking time out to inform the community about what's going on. Really do. But one thing I haven't heard yet about the kids. My personal life, I attended Holston High School back in 1987 when I graduated. But I lived on Cherry Hill, which was about a 5-minute walk from Austin East. So for me, in order to get up and get to school on time, I had to get up at 5 a.m., all right, walk to Ceremony Green to catch a bus, get to school. I'm there about 7 o'clock. No one's there but the cafeteria workers and the janitors. Stayed at school all day, played sports, so I wouldn't get home till about 7 o'clock. Very fatigued, still had a lot of homework. We need to remember about the kids, all right? And I will tell you this. I recall when I went to Holston, that there was a school down the street. They still do have more athletes, professional athletes than any other school in Knoxville. But until we started intervening and doing things, other schools took off in athletics, because athletics is a part of a school, right? Money moves the earth. So what I'm asking you guys, think about the child first. Zoning, understand budgets, understand finances, truly understand that. But a kid going to school from 5 and getting home at 7, likelihood of him going to the next level of schooling, a little bit of none. But that kid that lived right down the street, I think King said, what was it? Sincere ignorance, conscientious stupidity. We ain't stupid, guys. I know ain't a word, but come on. Think about your child if he or she had to go to a school and up that long. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is there's a vacant lot over here that you could build a bigger and better Vine Middle School and make it a Vine Middle and a Vine Elementary School before we rezone and bus our kids to Gibbs. I got bused to Gibbs. 45-minute bus ride in the morning, 45-minute bus ride home. Not conducive to my learning. Culture shock. Okay, I made it. Went on to school, did a little more, but now I have 2 children that are coming up. So you're gonna do it again, bus my child away from my neighborhood, so he's gonna have to get on the bus and ride an hour to a brand new school that's not conducive for him and his learning style. There's nobody in that area that can teach my child like someone who grew up in this area. So you need to make our schools better in this area so that our kids can succeed. They're not succeeding. They're tired. They're misunderstood. They're bullied. And most of all, they're misunderstood.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. On this side? Yes, sir.
My name is
My name is Michael Moore, and I was raised in this area, such as a lot of students were, but I just have a couple of questions for you. In the student population, what percentage of black, white, and Hispanic students are being bused at this time? And the second question I have is, I would think maybe with your statistics data, what is the longest time that some of the bus students, before they arrive home at night? I've seen buses run at 5:30 and 6 o'clock. Is that normal?
There are buses that run at 5:30 and 6 o'clock because we have schools that start at 9:30 and don't get out till 4:30. So we have different schedules for schools around the county. That's correct. Your other question on the demographics of students using transportation, I don't have that off the top of my head. I don't know.
So I know some of y'all couldn't hear that. Russ couldn't answer the question about what percentage of kids are being bused right now. We can figure that out. But what I am aware of the fact that disparities can exist in busing as well in other things, and that it is patently unfair if we are putting all the busing burden on a particular racial group or ethnic group or economic group. So we're hearing that. And I hear you saying we don't want our kids riding on long bus rides either. Right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Everybody in here poor? Is that what it is? Everybody's in here, we're all poor. So our kids are affected by bus rides because we're all poor and we're all uneducated. Is that what it is?
I can't.
Okay, my name is Sanford Miller. I'm the pastor in New Salem Baptist Church. I attended Vine Junior High School, as well as I lived off Bard's Bridge, where my son had to be bused from Bard's Bridge to Carter. And Mr. Oaks, can you go back to the screenings from the population attendance of each school, what each school was? Okay, if you look and see, you say Vine Junior is 349 students. South Doyle, you got 960. You can see right there as far as South Doyle, half of the kids that go to South Doyle, if they went where they were supposed to go, then Vine Junior numbers would be up. It's the same way with Carter Middle. Carter Middle is over 180 kids more plus 173. That plus 173 already supposed to be coming to Vine Magnet School. So if that were the case, then Vine numbers would come up, and we will be talking about rezoning for Vine Junior instead of about rezoning for Gibbs, which is 600 capacity. And it blows my mind why all this is taking place because of a school with a 600 person capacity, and they're the lowest almost of everything up there with the exception of Vine Junior, so it makes no sense whatsoever to me.
Yes, sir.
So I'm looking at the numbers, and I've got a couple of questions. And I want to know whether or not these things are running parallel to each other or if they're in conjunction with one another. So we're in here talking about rezoning. But there's also this little word called I-zones. And what I'm curious about is, first of all, if any of the people in here understand what an I-zone is, because it's a little different than what we're here talking about. And so you said you could not foretell the future, but I think you have a mechanism in place to do that. And that's what that I-zone does. And that I-zone takes the schools that are on the populated list for being the worst, and it puts a manager over that particular school. Right now, there's 4 of them on there. And if those schools fail and they don't produce, then those schools are closed. Now, you said those you don't have any intention on closing the school. But if the school fails under the management of that I-zone, then the school is closed. Part of the I-zone population piece of it is the word population. Does it meet capacity? So in doing all of that, the school, not the county commission, but the school board sought a $660,000 grant for an experiment with an I-zone over the next year. They did not go through county commission to get the money because county commission would have had to have voted on the I-zone preparation of that money being appropriated. So it seems like there's some backroom deals going on that would So this is more than just about zoning. There's some financial numbers that go along with this. And if you don't get the preparation from county commission to get the money, where then do you get the $660,000 to approve this experiment to forecast what schools stay open and what schools close?
So, Cindy, Ms. White, would you come down here, please? So you can explain a little bit how the I-zone works. Nathan, are you here? Lang Lois, our principal at Austin East. Nathan, you may want to be a part of this as well because I want you to hear it from the folks that are managing our schools. I want you to hear about the I-zone from folks that are managing our schools. The I-zone is not about us closing schools, and no school in the I-zone is going to be closed. So I don't know how that rumor got started. The I-zone on our end is about getting additional resources and support to schools that need the additional resources and support that are in the I-zone. Vine is one of those schools, correct? So I'm going to let your principal talk about that. She runs this school for us. And Nathan, you run Austin East. You're not in the I-zone, but you're located here and know what's going on here. So people may want to know about what's going on there as well. But Cindy, we don't have, I don't think, our elementary principals here that are in the I-zone. Do you see any of them? Okay, so our Sarah Moore Green. All right, we do. There's Dexter. Dexter, I need you. Dexter, would you mind coming down here as well? Dexter Murphy, who is the principal of Green Magnet. Dexter, we need to do a little information about the I-zone and what that means for our schools. So I'll let Cindy go first. Hang on just a minute. We're going to talk. You have... I want to hear, you heard a lot about I-zones that really isn't accurate, and I want you to hear what it really is, and then we'll go back to the question.
I know you know me. I'm Cindy White. I'm your principal here at Vine Middle School. Let me talk to you a little bit about what the I-zone is. Can you hear me now? Okay. The I-zone stands for the Innovation Zone. And it really is a combination of schools. The I-zone is made up of, yes, those priority schools who are at risk. We're one of those. We hope that we come off the list this summer. But it does include those at-risk schools, those priority schools. But the I-zone also includes all of your magnet schools. It includes the Career Magnet. It includes L&N STEM. It includes, L&N STEM, Career Magnet, Beaumont, Lonsdale's one of the priority schools. Your priority schools right now, Austin East came off the list several years ago. They're not part of the I-zone. Your 4 priority schools are Saramore Green, Vine, and Lonsdale. So they're a part of the I-zone, and they receive a lot of extra resources as a result of that. But it also includes all of those magnet schools, your L&N STEM, your Career Magnet, Beaumont, all of those schools. And so we have one director who oversees all of that, and it's a small group of schools, so they do receive a special focus. I don't know.
And we're going to move around here and get back in, but I want to let Dexter say something too because he is in the I-zone.
All right, good afternoon. Just speaking on the I-zone, I am the principal of Green Magnet Academy. I'm a very proud principal of Green. I've been there for 1.5 years. And speaking on the I-zone, before I walked in the doors, I was given information that Green was one of those priority schools, meaning that we were part of the I-zone. What we do with that money is that allows us to stay open longer. So our school stays open until 3:15, right? So we pay our teachers more with that money. So I want to put that money back into our teachers' pocket for working harder for that. So that's what we do with our money. Also, we use that money as well with I-zone facilitators. And what they do is they train our teachers. There's extra training for that, and there's extra support for that with the I-zone. So it's more hands on deck to allow us to reach the goals. And I will say, when we got our data back in December 22nd, we're not off the list yet. Hopefully, we will be off that list soon. We're praying for that. Amen. So, but we're doing some hard work there, and we got our results, and our data is looking good. It's trending upward, and I would say it's because we have that extra support. So that's all I have to say about that. So.
Okay, I hope that was helpful.
Let me ask you, when did you close Gibbs Middle School?
I'm sorry?
When did you close the old Gibbs Middle School?
I wasn't here at that time, but I think it was 1992, give or take.
91, why did you close it?
It was developed or closed as part of a settlement for an OCR complaint at that point in time.
Okay, and you bust the kids to Holston, right? They had a fit. They did not want their kids bused, but you bust them. So then, all of a sudden now, you need to build them a new school? Did you not know you needed to build a new school then? Or did you think that maybe we would forget after all these years and you could go on and build it? Do you get any monetary money for going in the inner city, busing kids around to different schools? Do you get? Russ Oaks has been here a while. I just want to know if you get money for these kids in the inner city going to the schools that are not in their zone. Can you answer that?
I'm not sure what the question is. Can you say that again?
The question is, do you get money for the kids from the inner city that are bused to the other schools?
No, ma'am.
Okay, let me ask you this. What is BEP money? I'm sorry? What is BEP money? BEP money is money you get for kids that are low income, food stamps, or welfare. You get extra money in the schools. That's why they bust them around.
No.
Hang on. BEP money is not money that you get based on whether kids are. I want to be respectful here, but BEP money is given for every single kid in the school district, wherever they go to school. It's the amount of money we get from the state. We were pleased to hear that they're going to fully fund it this year. So we don't make money by busing kids somewhere else. That costs us money. Now I want you to know that I'm hearing you that you are tired of your children having to get on buses and go across the river or go out to Gibbs. I want you to know I've got it. I'm here. Okay. Gotcha.
You can't just take a piece of the puzzle and say, here's the full picture. We're not getting a lot of what we want, and it's not fair. It's not just saying, well, I hear part of the statement. There's multiple voices, multiple concerns, and if we're going to have any real equity, any real equality in this, we've got to have diverse people at the table who sit and listen to the same decisions that you say you're making, listening to the people that voice these things in the community. It's all in one. It's not a part.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Brianna Holloway, and I'm a parent of 4 Knox County school students. First thing I want to say is that in Knoxville, combined, the city and county combined, there's only about a 12% black population. With those numbers, it is almost impossible to create or maintain community schools without having racial imbalances. So avoiding racial disparities in this city and county is almost impossible. Another thing that hasn't been addressed tonight, the Beaumont, Lonsdale, and Mechanicsville areas, those students are students in this district as well, and they are being bused out to schools that are far from them. I live in Mechanicsville. I was raised in East Knoxville and conduct most of my business in East Knoxville. I have a son that is in middle school. We are in walking distance of Maynard Elementary, but he is being bused to Bearden Middle. Beardsley, I sure can. Beardsley was closed down, as well as was rural. So my question is, well, I read recently, someone brought up that they wanted a middle and high school to be built in that area that services Mechanicsville, Lonsdale, and Beaumont, but that the budget was just not there. So my question is, I don't think that the budget was quite there for the Gibbs Middle School either. So what can we do as a community to have a middle and high school built for our students in the West District, in the west side part of the 6th District? What can the county, the city, and us as community members do to force a middle and high school that is desperately needed in that community? Last statement that I want to make, I'm challenging our community because apparently we care about our students. As we can see the number of faces in here, we care about our community, we care about our kids. So I'm challenging not only us, but I'm challenging Gloria Detheridge as our Board of Education representative. You are supposed to be our voice. We shouldn't be receiving the short end of the stick, and we shouldn't be receiving knowledge after decisions have already been made. We need to come together and be proactive instead of reactive so that our schools don't continue to get closed, our students don't continue to be bused out of their communities. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Cicely Henderson. I don't usually speak, but I think it's important that you actually, like DIC said, hear what we're saying. I think the problem is, for years, you've heard what we've said, but you don't listen to it and you don't do anything about it. What you need to understand now, though, is for years, you've taken a school here, you've taken a school there, but we're not going to allow that to happen anymore. So after tonight, you're not going to be able to say, you let us have our opinion, you took our comments, and you're going to go on with your plan that started supposedly in December or a couple weeks ago. This is no longer acceptable for us. We're not going to get the tail end of the stick anymore. And I wanted to mention for the gentleman that's at Austin East, someone spoke that that school was on the I-zone. My son graduated in 2011. When I tell you them kids, they worked so they could come off that list. Every one of them kids, black and white, was determined that they weren't gonna let you all take their school. They went to school, they did it on their own without parental guidance. So, you know, when kids feel the effect of that, you're gonna have to listen because we're not going to allow this to continue. So, you know, as polite as we can be, just know that when you walk out of here, there was questions you said you couldn't answer. We know that you know what the future holds. We know that. And it makes us feel like we don't know any better, or you think, oh, we heard them and we're gonna go on. That's no longer acceptable. We're not gonna be patted on the back, and we're just not.
Yes, sir.
Hey, my name is Maurice Clark. I have a lot to say about this whole rezoning thing, but I'm gonna take my little 2 minutes and address the crowd here. First of all, there's been a lot of clapping about some things that's been said, but this is a show of unity, and we ought to give ourselves a round of applause for being out here tonight. Now, here's the thing. This is very important. There may be another rezoning meetings in the near future. Regardless of where it's at, it may be at Farragut High School, it may be at Gibbs High School, wherever it is, we're going to have to show up again at the next rezoning meeting. This cannot be it. And also keep in mind, we also may have to attend a county commissioners meeting, okay? Because they fund Knox County schools. They make the decision on how much money to put into Knox County schools. We also may have to attend a school board meeting. So when it's called upon for us to be there, okay? When you see it on social media, when you see it through your email, what have you, we got to be there. We got to show up, and that's just bottom line. Otherwise, this meeting tonight is going to be useless and senseless if we don't continue to fight.
Yes, sir.
My name is Louis Logan, and I didn't go to Vine. I went to Park Junior, but I'm still part of this community. Now, Mr. Buzz, I understand that you were new. I didn't even know your name until tonight. I didn't know who the new superintendent was. But what I want to say to you, and I want reassurance tonight, okay? Because this is frustration that you are hearing from the black community here. Me, myself, we've been frustrated for so long. We've been told certain things, this is not going to happen, but yet still we see an enrollment that is declining because we're being bused. Reassure us tonight, reassure me, that you will not bust our kids, that you would hear us tonight and keep our kids here at home and build us a new school here.
Hello. I am Carolyn Chandler, a retired Knox County teacher. I'm speaking into the mic. Okay. I graduated from Austin High School back in '62, so don't try to figure out my age. Okay. But anyway, I'm real concerned about, and I asked this question last week, and I gave it to you all so you'd have a little thought on it. When those students from the Holston area leave Holston, I still want to know if you are coming down in the Holston area and bus those kids up to Gibbs. I did this, I raised my grandson, and he graduated from Gibbs High School in 2013. The first time I drove out to Gibbs, I didn't think I was going to ever get there. I mean, that's a drive. And in addition to that, I had to do that because every day, because he played basketball and football. So I had to go pick him up. Otherwise, he would not have been able to play sports. So in regard to them not wanting their kids bused down to Holston, I don't think we want our kids in that area bused up to Gibbs. It's the same. To me, it's a sign of resegregation.
Yes, I did not go to Vine as well. I'm from the west side of Knoxville. And my question is, my middle school and my high school was closed down. Why? Why? Why not build some schools here in the black communities? Because we need them. Why take them all the way down west? It's plenty of land on this side of town. Do something with room. Build another Bursary.
Hello. Yes, my name is Marlon Nelson. And I hear a lot about busing out. And y'all haven't accommodated us as far as busing in. Whereas we have 349 students and y'all steady trying to bus us out. I went to Rule, went to Bruce. So I went through all the changes at that time. And the only thing y'all did was busted up the community. All the high school kids had to go to West, Central, and Fulton. For what? The kids should have been coming to Rule. They had a good thing going. I'm a graduate of Austin East. And I work with kids here in Vine, also kids at Austin East and all over the city and the organization. But at the same time, we're not asking y'all to give us special benefits. What we need is what's real, what's the truth. If our area is this small and everybody's area is super big, just give us the same area. That's what we're asking for. Okay. That's all we need.
My name is Reverend Larry Brinson. I was born in College Homes. I attended Rural High School 1 year, got told to leave the school because of racial prejudice. I went to Bursley for 4 years, went in the military for 20 years, come back to Knoxville, and our community has been torn apart all my life. I will be 64 years old, 65 years old this year. What I'm standing up and I'm listening to my people and my family say, we are tired. What I want to know is, and I've substituted at Austin East, I ran in-school suspension, I want to know about quality education. You're building a class state-of-the-art school in these areas, but yet, and as I said, I've been in the schools. I've seen secondhand books come into our school. I've seen hand-me-down computer systems come into our schools. I have seen teachers sent to our schools who are scared to come into our communities and scared to teach and earn their paycheck. So what we're saying, just like they are saying, we love our children and we want a quality as well as quantity education, as well as we tired of seeing our communities torn apart. Y'all took over Old Town, which was, when I was growing up, was completely black owned and black operated. Old Town is now not ours. Lands, Rural High School Stadium was dedicated to Knoxville College. I prayed the dedicating prayer. The stadium is torn down, the school is gone, community is broken up. What I want to know, as he challenged you, enough is enough. When are we going to see results that our children can go to school and get a quality education and not have to run all the way across town? And yes, you do get government funding because of students in your school, not just the ones on welfare. You get government funding from the rich students too because of the number of students in each school. Those numbers are padded because we know funds are going to those schools and not in this community. We want some funds to come back to our schools. We want some education to come back to our children. Most of all, we getting tired of lip service. We want action.
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Frances Hall, Frances Whitehall.
I'm a native Knoxvillian, and I got a good education right here at Vine Junior High School. I'm a graduate of Austin East High School. I got a quality education there. And it amazes me why we are here, begging for what's supposed to be ours. It just amazes me. Out of these hallowed halls came doctors, lawyers, teachers, nurses, a businesswoman. Out of these halls and next door. Why are we trying to sell you about Vine Junior? We know what Vine Junior is. Rezoning and diluting our community is no more. If you're tired and you're the principal, go principal somewhere else. If you're still using 5-year-old lesson plans, go miseducate somebody else's children. If you say you don't have no more money, stop giving $10 million to Regal to move downtown. If you don't have no money, why are you giving Walmart and Publix $10 million to move down at the Strip over at UT? If you say you have no money, how did Gibbs get a school? Knox County Schools is not in the real estate business. It's supposed to be in the education business. If you've got to do public-private partnerships, if you've got to have an agreement with the developer and they build us a school and we lease it back to them, let's think creative. Let's do something. Everybody gets a TIF but us. Everybody gets tax increment financing but us. It's about time it's be used for our children. I'm going to tell you something, because I have written something else. I'm going to tell you, out of Vine, this foundational institution, it produced an Army colonel who served on Joint Chiefs. It produced the head of the Alaska Pipeline Commission. It produced the former HR head of Knox County government. It produced me, a businesswoman. It produced a dean of a religion and an Episcopal priest, and that's just out of my family alone. Y'all know my mama. My mama was the secretary at Vine Junior. And everybody in here knows we laid to rest today a beloved she wrote in Mrs. Ernest Eunice Easley, one of the Vine Junior's quality teachers. So we have a history of who we are and what we do. Our schools need to be preserved. As the lady said over there, Beardsley got torn down. Rural got turned down. That community needs a school. Austin East needs to be upgraded. Vine Junior needs to be rebuilt over from that open land. So what I'm saying is the resources are here. The people care. This whole, if you wouldn't mind, I just need to see who you are. Can some golden bears please stand up?
Thank you. My name is Leonard Campbell, and I'm not really a really important person. I just wanted to come and say just a few things from my heart. And what it is I was going to ask, how many of you even heard of Beardsley? And how many of you even heard a rule? And the question is, to me, when those schools close down, we talk about being a community-based school system or something like that. When those schools close down, the whole identity from the Mechanicsville, Linesdale, Beaumont area was ripped away. It was distributed out into other schools in the same area. But those kids could have came to Rue or Beardsley. My thing is now in Linesdale, and I don't want to make this about the other side of town, but in Linesdale, you got kids going to school in trailers outside the building because there's not enough room in the school. There's not enough parking for the teachers. My last thing is this. Yesterday, I went to pay my KUB bill, and I seen a teacher of mine named Miss Fitzgerald. Miss Fitzgerald was in line paying her bill too. For me to see Miss Fitzgerald meant that Miss Fitzgerald was in my community. To me, that made me want to go up and be something because I seen Miss Fitzgerald be something. So I think when you send us to somewhere else where we'll never likely run into a teacher paying our KUB bill, I think that kind of take away from our own self-existence or whatever word fits that. I think we need to be with us.
I just want to say this, and I'm very proud of the person who, okay. I'm a graduate of Austin High School too. And Vine Junior, I attended Green School, then I went to Austin High. And I live in East Knoxville, but I'm a college professor at Pellissippi. I'm a college professor. That came out of Austin High School. And out of the school, out of the education I got here, I got in right here in East Knoxville. I could live anywhere I want, but I live in East Knoxville. And I work in East Knoxville. And it's all right for us to sit here and holler, but we have to do something too. We can't just have this be ad hoc. You know, we got to attend the board meetings, and we've got to get in there and be part of the planning, because they plan 10 years ahead. So you've got to be there, and you've got to be proactive. I just want to say, I'm a product of East Knoxville schools, and I'm an associate professor at Pellissippi in the English department, and that's what I got. My basic education came from here in these buildings, and I just want to say that, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
First, let me say thank you, Mr. Boyd. He was my African American literature teacher. He was hard, but he gave me an A. Yes, I did. I have attended every school zone meeting, and I am grateful that we did get the opportunity to voice our concerns, and everybody showed up in great numbers. That's good. But as Mr. Boyd, I want to challenge you all, not only come to meetings when it gets hot, but start attending those public forums. Start coming to the county commissioner meetings, the school board meetings, and show up and voice your concerns prior to us getting to the point where we are now. And I also want to say Buzz Thomas was not one of them. I'm going to say it like this. Where were our concerns when they made this decision to build the schools? Did they not consider our input prior to building these schools? So if we're going to hold somebody responsible, let's hold the ones that cast their votes to build these schools. It wasn't Buzz Thomas. We should not hold those that cast their votes. Why aren't they here? Why aren't they talking to us? Why can't they stand up and say, we decided this because we had the authority and we wanted to? Let's be honest. They need to come and talk to us and say why they did this without even considering our community. I am displeased. I am appalled. And I think African American community, if you don't start standing up now, we're going to repeat the history and we're going to go through this over and over and over again. We are tired, and this is enough. We will fight the county commissioners. We will fight the school board. We will let our voices be heard, and we will not continue to eat the crumbs from the master's table. The children deserve better.
Yes, sir.
I'm Zimbabwe. There will be a follow-up meeting to this meeting at Beck Center Saturday, February 11th, beginning at 10:30. I have some pamphlets here that I will pass out to you. February is Black History Month. Frederick Douglass said, if you want to know how much oppression will be put upon you, you calculate how much oppression you will take. Never fails. 1 and 1 is 2. Whatever you would take is what would be given to you. They don't send our kids across the river. They don't send our kids across the river. We send our kids across the river. They didn't put us in the back of the bus. We went to the back of the bus. And when we woke up one day and said, enough is enough, we went to the front of the bus. We didn't get their permission. We didn't get their permission. I was there when Gibbs was closed. And we gave them a proposal that would have maintained the schools in the first district with sufficient middle schools, elementary schools, and real magnet schools. Their solution at the time was no, close all of the schools. Now, I don't know how many of you didn't say panther when you say golden bears. And I saw one panther here. Weren't you an Austin Panther? Yeah. Okay, so there are also panthers. In 1954, I was at Vine Junior at 11:30 when Helena Hunter came to my math class and asked Harry Gillespie to step out into the hall. It was May 1954. The Supreme Court had said that segregated schools would no longer be tolerated. That was 1954. Knoxville and Knox County has had 63 years to give us redress. That is longer than the time of Plessy versus Ferguson and the 1954 Supreme Court decision. They've had 63 years, and it does not matter whether they intended to or not. The results have been devastating. And the policy of Knoxville and Knox County is to displace African Americans and replace them with puppies. You can see it when you get up in the morning. When you see young white women walking their dogs now and riding bicycles where you never saw that before, does a light come on? February 11th, follow-up meeting, Beck Cultural Center at 10:30. If you want to know how much oppression will be given to you, calculate how much oppression you will take. It's nation time.
I'm Patrice Dethridge. I'm a teacher here at Vine Middle. Backing off of what Zimbabwe just mentioned about oppression. Guys, look, I'm coming from the perspective of my kids, my students here at Vine, and those who I've lost to South Doyle, okay? I was at Central High School when they closed Rural my senior year, and I saw what it did to that community. Those kids were so separated that some went to Central, some went to West High School, and the others went to Fulton High School, and some went to Austin East. And when they did that to that community, there was all hell out war. And our community had been divided out there ever since. We are having the same experience right now here at Vine, guys. You don't see the pain that our kids go through. You want to know why we're failing schools? Because our kids are hurting. Because when they go home, they got to deal with their friends who no longer go to the same school that they go to. And they live on the next street. When I was in 6th grade, I was on here to Vine. My friends who lived on Sunset Avenue were zoned to go to Spring Hill, which was a middle school at the time. And me and my friends got into a fight the next day when I had to come to Vine. We no longer had a friendship. That's what breaks our communities up. Our kids are hurting. My kids, stand up. Coaches, stand up. Nala, stand up. Thank you, Jocelyn. Nala, stand up. When we played against South Doyle last week, in every single one of my classes, I had to tell my kids, when South Doyle comes, do not start no fight, don't cause no problems, because those are your brothers and sisters. They live in your neighborhood. Don't call them no names. You hug them when you see them, and you work together, and you cheer together side by side, no matter who wins. That's a discussion. I'm supposed to be teaching social studies, right? I'm sorry, they did social studies, but I'm supposed to be teaching ancient civilization social studies. But I have to teach my kids how to react with one another just because I know they live in the same neighborhoods. I'm not asking, and I know for a fact that we have to abide by federal law, federal mandate, as far as making sure races, stay cohesive and diversity is there. But I'm asking that our boundaries get bigger. Not only our boundaries get bigger, but we get a really good STEAM program going on where some of the white people will want to come into our schools and say, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get over there to that black school so I can do this. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want my kids fighting each other in the same neighborhood. I want them out here. That's all I'm saying. Oh, real quick question. How close does Knox County Schools work with the Knox County in general? Because what I've noticed is some of our apartment buildings, not only here on this side of town, but also out in Lonsdale area, in Mechanicsville, when they take those buildings down, they have been replacing our communities on the outskirts of Knoxville. So when our people get moved from the inner city and get moved to the outskirts of Knoxville, they end up at places like Powell and Central and other places. So that caused a problem it caused a problem in our. So if Knox County and Knox County schools can work together and say, look, if you plan on moving these parents and our children on the outskirts of Knoxville because you want to tear down some more buildings, we need to know in advance. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
My name is Ashanti Bailey. Real quick, as far as all the board members are concerned, my main address tonight is there should be no more times you come forth and say you don't have an answer for us. Any board member should be able to answer any questions that's put on the floor at any given time. So if you're doing your homework, like you teach our kids to do their homework, you do your homework as well. Make sure everything you got to do, everything's covered before you come to us. Next time we have another meeting, make sure that's not, I don't want, if it's too big or too small. Make sure you can answer every single question that's been put on the floor with no more excuses. That's all I ask you to do.
Yes, ma'am. Right here, down here, down front. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. My name is Nancy Mott.
I live in this neighborhood, and I have a pale face. And I'm a mother. I'm the grandmother of 4 African American children. And I have learned, I guess I could say, I'm one of the people that James Baldwin was talking about when he said, the people who call themselves white. I don't want to call myself white, because I have learned that institutions who want to be, Zimbabwe, who I regard as one of my teachers, whether he knows it or not, has helped me to understand that institutions do things that the individuals may not. So you both have said you were not there, and you weren't. But institutions were there, and we white people somehow never take responsibility for what institutions have done. I have dear friends who will not go to the old city because they remember what the old city was. And you all have histories here, and yet nobody. I can shout. Okay. I think that I'm pleased with you as whoever you represent to give them the message that your institution, the institution of Knox County Schools, should remember what they did in 1991 and before and since. And I think that as individuals, we as white people want to say, I didn't do that. It's not my responsibility. I'm not responsible for the gentrification or for the urban renewal and all that it caused. But we've got to take responsibility, and we must insist it shouldn't be just left to a part of the Knoxville community. All of us, white, black, whatever, we all need to be equally. These are all our children.
Christy.
I said I came here not intending to say anything, but I will say this, guys, and I am the principal at Austin East Madden High School. Austin East Madden High School is not a failing high school. So I'm just gonna say this. We perpetuate our own lives, okay? We perpetuate our own lives. So don't go out and say we're a failing high school. We're not a failing high school, period. And I say that because I hear from people all the time, oh, that's a failing high school. That's not a successful high school. It is a very successful high school. It's got a proud tradition. So when you guys leave here, Green is not a failing elementary school. Vine is not a failing middle school. And it's sort of like math. If you keep saying to yourself, I'm not good at math, you start believing it. So my challenge to you guys is when you leave here, understand the greatness that your schools are and start preaching that and not letting people put these schools down. If you guys want people to come back to our schools, you've got to believe in our schools. I'm just gonna say one last thing and then I'm done. We do have white kids coming to Austin East Madden High School. but going out and recruiting kids to come to Austin East Madden High School. So these myths that exist, we need to stop perpetuating. We're our own worst enemy. So just understand that.
My name is Christy Mitchell, and I am a teacher at Holston Middle School. I've worked there 18 years. I started at Holston Middle School when the enrollment was 300 students, and now you can see 876. I want to say two things. One is that I'm so proud of my school has worked so hard. I have so many people have worked so hard to make my school successful. So many principals, so many teacher leaders, so many parents and people getting involved to make Holston the school it is today. And I am so proud of it. We take 6 feeder schools and we create one community there. And that is not an easy job. And I'm so proud of our school. And this situation is already said and done, but I do want to say it feels like to me someone is taking my family and we are having a divorce. And we have to decide if we're going to go with mom or dad. And it's not easy for any of us at Holston right now. We have a hard situation with it. But I'm here mostly to speak for my students. My students come from Corrington, Gibbs, Spring Hill, East Knox, Ritta, okay? All of those are my students, all of them. And I'm asking you, as we move forward in this plan that's already going to take place, that you do what's best for all of those students. That means that Holston Middle School does not get left behind in this transition, that things don't start to fall apart there, that they are not given the resources that they've been given this whole time, the one-to-one technology, the teacher leaders that we have there, the resources that we have. But if I'm going to speak for the kids that stay behind at Holston, I also have to speak for the kids that are going to go on to Gibbs. Those are my kids too. I educate them every day too. And I ask that you give Gibbs Middle equitable resources. It's not going to do those kids any good to go to a school 2 minutes from their house and come in and there's nothing there for them. Nothing that they're used to having that they have at Holston. So I just ask that you keep in mind what's best for both of those groups of kids as we continue.
Hi, my name is Rick Roach. I'm born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee. My parents were school teachers in the Knoxville city school system, okay? I watched the city school system get handed over to the county school system, okay? And ever since then, there's been literal chaos in terms of education of African-American students in Knox County. Literally chaos. And my kids were part of that chaos, okay? Luckily, they were able to get through. Okay, and graduated from Fulton High School. However, I've got to say this, and I've got to go back to what Professor Boyd said. They've got plans already in place, 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line. And if you want to see some change, you better get active right now. Take the time, okay? Because your legacy is at stake here. Take the time to go to MPC, Metropolitan Planning Commission meetings. This is where it starts. This is where the zoning starts. The reason you don't have any business district along the Magnolia corridor is because there is no will to have it, okay? Resources have been taken out of this community. And the first thing that they know, what happens is you take away the school system, the center of a community is a school. Believe it or not, people, it's a school. You take that school out of the community. You know, I know this. Why? My mother taught at Beardsley. Okay, I work at the site where Beardsley used to be. Okay? My father taught right here in this building. Okay? He taught right here in this building and at Austin East. Okay? So I understand what happens when you take a school out of a community. That community disintegrates. Period. Okay? That community disintegrates. And until you bring those educational resources, the center of a community, back into the community and demand that you have neighborhood schools. Forget about, you know what? If they talk about the federal government coming in here and doing this and that to them because there's racial disparity, that's bogus, okay? The federal government says if you have viable neighborhood community schools in place that take care of the educational needs of that community, we're not going to mess with you. We're not going to penalize you because you're doing the right thing. So we don't need to hear that, okay? That's not an argument, okay? So as long as you all have the will, and we have the will to have community neighborhood schools, then they can't come in here and say, you know, hey guys, we're going to send your kids across the river. We're going to send your kids across the Holston River and the Tennessee River and send your kids way out west. No, that's not going to happen, okay? So start, first and foremost, pay attention to the zoning mechanisms that are utilized by the Metropolitan Planning Commission and the information that is sent to Knox County commissioners, okay, that they utilize, and the Knoxville City Council. Knoxville City Council is part and parcel of the Knox County school system. Never forget that, okay? They're still part and parcel, okay? They still give money to the school system, okay? And that's y'all's money, okay? So demand representation correctly. City Council, County Commission, but first and foremost, the unelected members of the Metropolitan Planning Commission, okay? Make your voices be heard. Tell them what you want.
Sir, thank you. System. I'm going to meet the
I know a lot of y'all are getting up ready to go. Hang on just 1 second. I want to let this lady speak.
Hey, my name is Katrina Chesney. I've been working at Carter Middle for this my 3rd year. My question is, they have like the largest number of buses that go to that school. I think we have like 17, 18 school buses daily. I live right off of Castle, and just driving from Carter home and back and forth, I pass about 6 buses coming over here. Is it possible? Yeah, just going to work, coming back. Is it possible, and then we don't have to bother, possible to bring some of those kids back over here instead of being down there? Because the truth be told, like, it's not enough lockers, it's not enough resources at the school. I mean, I like Carter, but that's just me and my daughter. But you know, it's overcrowded, and I understand the frustration. I'm not from here, so I don't know about the other school stuff, but I see the students and how frustrated they are. Like several people said, it's students that get to school before 7:30, and then they have to wait for another bus to come. Because the buses drop kids off, they have to wait till like 4 o'clock to leave to get on the bus for another 20, 30-minute ride home, and still have to come home and do homework. And those same kids can't participate in sports. Our daughter plays sports, but it's a lot to go back and forth, to come back over the east side, get our other kids, go back down to the games and everything. But what about those parents that don't have cars? And even like when we have parent-teacher conferences, Mr. Watson he have a day where we're at Greater Warner to do report card pickup, because just to bring the school and the teachers to the community. And that shouldn't have to happen when there is a school right here that has the space, and if you all could give the resources to Vine, then you don't have to, they shouldn't have to be bothered with whatever happens at Gibbs.
Thank you. I want to tell you all a couple of things before we wrap up. And I want to remind you that we've got excuse me.
The problem that I have is that we're here to discuss rezoning. We're discussing. You want me to eat it? Okay, the problem that I have is that we're here discussing rezoning the schools, but we have a bigger issue, because I'm sitting with a young lady here that, as far as the buses are concerned and making longer routes home, hers never made it home. So that's a bigger issue with these buses. We don't want our children going farther away from home than they already have to. So that's an issue that still needs to be faced. And then also I have an issue with Ms. White. We sat in the office together, we didn't get it worked out, so I think maybe here would be better. She was unable to tell me why my daughter had to leave and none of the other children did. Like, I didn't have a good explanation of why my daughter was sent to South Door. Thank you.
Yeah, all right. I want to tell you a couple of things. One is that if there are other things you need us to know, I want you to email me, and this isn't going to be our last conversation tonight. We're going to give you a proposal, and we're not going to make you wait. We're going to give it to you before the end of the month. You have no reason to trust me. You don't. I understand that. I understand that. So I've got to earn your trust. So I'm not going to tell you I heard you, because you've got to see that I did. So I'm going to promise you a proposal at the end of this month, maybe sooner, and you'll get to see it. And then we're going to get back together and we're going to see what you think about what we have actually proposed we do, okay? So I understand that. I want to thank you for being here tonight and giving us a chance to listen. And then we're going to try to prove to you that we did listen, okay? Email us, rezoning@knoxschools.org, and I hope we see you on February 15 when we give the report on where we are in addressing a lot of the disparities that you were talking about tonight. Thank you very much. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.